Hello, everyone. I'm Sam Eckmann from Gold Derby here with Anika Noni Rose, star of Uncle Vanya, currently at Lincoln Center Theater. And I was realizing before we spoke that this actually marks, I think, your first time back on Broadway in 10 years, your last year with Raisin in the Sun. Why was this the right project to return with?
Well, I was hoping to come back sooner. We were hoping to bring Carmen Jones to
Yeah.
Broadway, and then the pandemic hit. So that was a want want, but something that I still I still dream that we can do. I would still love to do. Um, so the pandemic took a big chunk of choice out of there, but I'm also just always waiting for something different, something a different and new challenge. And this was like, I was like, okay, well, I've never done Chekhov. I've done the classics, of course. I was trained classically, but not in a professional setting.
Mm.
So I was like, well, this is a great translation. I really fell in love with Lila and Heidi. Um, we have an awesome cast, all of whom weren't yet cast when I said okay, but I thought it was just time to do something for me that was going to be very different and to work with these two amazing women and this now phenomenal cast. Um, it was time.
Yeah.
I guess
And
that's the short answer.
You mentioned Heidi, Heidi Schreck. She created a new translation for this play.
Mhm.
Is there a certain aspect of her translation that stands out to you or grabs you as something that speaks to our moment right now?
Well, the amazing thing about the actual play is that you do not have to twist and turn and create something new to make it stand out to this moment right now because the things that were happening then 100 plus years ago, we are still dealing with. They were dealing with an epidemic. We just finished, not quite finished, but are still dealing with the repercussions of a pandemic. They were concerned about nature and trees and how we're using up nature. And here we are 100 years from then, still tearing up land and not thinking about what is supposed to happen afterwards. He was casually talking about women's rights. Like the fact that we are still dealing with all of this is really somewhat pathetic when you think about it. So Heidi didn't have to change any of that. Um, and yet here we are talking about things that if you're watching and listening, you probably think that she did adjust or twist or throw something in, but she really didn't. She just made the language speakable for English right now, while also while also being very true to the Russian that was the original text.
Yeah, I think no one has cell phones or anything in this play, but there's that sort of boredom that people get with doom scrolling on their phone. Boredom is
Mm.
also a huge theme in this play, I think. And your character, Yelena, is kind of queen of the boredom club
Yeah.
in certain ways. When that is such a defining, characteristic of someone, they keep saying they're bored. How do you figure out what their actual motivators are? Like, what is her motivator? How do you keep it active on stage?
Well, that is the question, right? Because you can't really play boredom, um, at least not for long. Um, I think that her boredom has more to do than just with than. Oh, I just lost my own English. It there's more than just I don't have something to do in this moment. Her boredom is really um, a life issue. She's come to a life point, and life is not what she expected it to be. I don't think it is for anybody in this play. Um, and she's realizing in this space, we're in New England. We've decided we're in New England. So even though you have a cell phone, there are places in New England, like say Damascotta, Maine, where you can have your cell phone, you may as well just use it to hold paper because it's not working at certain places and certain times. So we're not dealing with the cell phone. But she's realizing that the choices that she has made that she thought would make her safe and that she also made for love were not enough, or were they enough? Um, and she's wondering where is she in her life right now? What is she going to do from this moment forward? Is she in a relationship that can continue growing, or is she in a relationship that has reached its space? She reached its final line. She's figuring all of those things out. She's talking about, in 5 years, I'll be old too. That's not necessarily true. In 5 years, she won't be old. But for women, so often we are treated as such so much sooner than men. And this is a woman who let her career go and wrapped herself up in the man that she married, and now is trying to figure out who she is as a person and what she is going to do with her life to make her life worthwhile. And I think a big question in this piece is about love and existence. Have we loved enough? Have we gone after our passions? Um, have we been true to who we are? Because if we haven't been, then have we truly lived our lives?
Mm. That's interesting. You're talking about, figuring out where she's going to go, because I feel like she kind of has like three different ways she's looking at. She could go with Astrov, she could stay with the professor, she could maybe go with Vanya, even though he's crazy. But there's these options in front of her, and she's almost like paralyzed because they're so different. And those actors that you work with are so different. What is the dynamic like between each of those relationships?
Well, there's a fourth choice that she has, and that choice is to claim herself and go on her own and figure out where she is in the
Right.
space of life and who she really is as an adult person, um, removed from whatever man finds her alluring. Um, and I think that we often forget that when we're looking at a woman who is considered beautiful and alluring and the person that everybody wants, we forget that she has the choice of self as well. Um, and working with these men who are very different men, um, but really just really fantastic people and amazing actors. I could not love this cast anymore. Like I couldn't. I will miss them deeply when we finish this run. And I started thinking that like 2 weeks into rehearsal. Um, but what we do have, which is a consistency, when you're talking about what's different working with each of them, I think more about the consistency of craft, of intelligence, of openness, of willingness to play. Um, that runs across the board with all three of these men that I am in connection with on the stage, and that makes it such a freeing space to play in, because everybody is then in a different space in their career. Everybody is in a different space, in their lives, and not one of these people walk into the door with their ego leading them. That is a gift. That's truly a gift. Um, I think that if Yelena is choosing Astrov, is that a real thing? Is that real? That's like, you know, choosing your boyfriend from set. You were just living in a fantasy for however many weeks or months you were there. And if you make that choice, is it a real thing to walk off and think you're going to walk off into ever after when you haven't known each other in a real space? I don't know. she and Vanya were very good friends. But Vanya is having his own existential crisis. You don't go from your own crisis to choose somebody else's. No, I don't think that's the answer. Um, and my husband is, um, I can't think of the word, but he's a bit of a megalomaniac. He doesn't really know how to love well, thoroughly, correctly. Um, he knows how to be worshiped, and he knows how to put someone else on a pedestal. But when it gets down to the nitty gritty of it, he doesn't know how to look past himself and his own fears to see the other person. So these are rough choices. These
Sure.
are tough choices, you know. Um, and so well written because that's life, that's life.
Yeah. Well, it's, you talking about choosing herself reminds me because the play obviously, Chekhov writes great two-person scenes, which is why it's
Hmm.
so studied in scene study all the time. But there's also these monologues in the play, which are almost performed out to the audience in a way that many contemporary plays don't do, I think. The style is not something we see often anymore. And you are right there on the lip of the stage at the edge performing yours. What is that dynamic like to suddenly take in the audience in this very immediate way?
Well, we were working on it in like traditional soliloquy space where I'm walking around talking to air. And I didn't, it did not feel to me, it didn't, I could not grab the life of it in that space. And I asked Lila, I said, listen, what would you feel if I broke the fourth wall here? Because I feel like even she, Yelena, at this point, she needs somebody else to talk to. She can't talk to these people in this house anymore. They are driving each other and her crazy. She has to talk to somebody else. Um, and so she was completely open to that. And it really helped crack open the space of those words for me and to allow a truth to be culled from them as opposed to walking around feeling like, I don't know, mystical and Shakespearean, but not in Shakespeare. You know what I'm saying? Um, and so I was really grateful that she was open to that as a choice, at least to try it, because we could have tried it and been like, actually, let's do something else. That's not it. Um, but it feels very much alive and present in that way to me.
Hmm. And I think it's right after that monologue too, where she really decides to get into Sonia's business, which really opens up the can of worms of Astroff, another choice, which
Hmm.
is with William Jackson Harper, who you have this great chemistry with. Do you think that Yelena understands the can of worms that she's opening up when she decides to pursue that with Sonia?
No, I think that she truly, at that point, she has just said that she's about to lose her mind with boredom. Like she doesn't even know what to do with herself. She's just swinging around a room, basically. And I think that she realizes that this is something that she can do. She can help her friend. She can be the connecting force. She's somebody who men have talked at forever. So she feels like this is a language that she knows how to speak, and she's just going to get down to it, even though she thinks she's going to be subtle and ends up not being particularly subtle at all. Bless her. But I think I think that her choice is to be helpful, and her choice is also to have, oh, this is it. This is going to be my project. This is the thing I'm going to jump into. This girl should have somebody. She should be happy. Um, and I don't necessarily feel that she feels that Astrov is the one to make her happy, but you can't just walk around nebulous. and in heat and crazy and not have some sort of awareness of what's happening. That's so painful to walk around unrequited for ages. So Yelena wants to help and then realizes that she can't help. She can't really help because she's got her own feelings that she had not recognized until she started to peel back the layers of who this man is and what makes him special and what makes him interesting. She's like, oh, damn, he is very special. He is very interesting. And I really like to talk to him. And actually, he and Vanya are really the only people who talk to me here. They're the only people she has conversation with for some time.
Hmm. She's in a tough spot, that
She is in a
Yelena.
tough
She's a
spot.
tough spot.
She is, and I think that there's a danger in deciding that she purposefully does this. I don't. It doesn't. To me, reading it, it doesn't feel like she purposefully does that. It
Right.
doesn't seem that way to me. It seems like there really is a truly a surprise in that space and uh a discomfort in the realization. But she's also a human being, and she's a flawed human being, as all of these people are. But I think going at it as if, oh, this is the choice that she's made is much more flat,
Hmm.
and villainous, really. Then she's just a villain, you know.
Well, if I can shift gears to someone who's definitely not a villain for a moment, because you famously provided the voice for Tiana in Princess and the Frog,
Yes,
and which is one of my favorite Disney films. And it has
thank
given,
you.
I think, introduced you to a lot of new fans. You have Tiana's children's book and are going to be immortalized in the Disney parks with a new attraction coming out soon with Tiana's Bayou Adventure. What does that
Yes.
it has had such a legacy. What does that legacy mean to you? And to now have it be very soon be immortalized with a an attraction that way?
It's amazing. It's amazing. It's not at all what I dreamed of growing up. I just never thought this wasn't what I didn't know, you know. And I got the role, and I still don't think that I realized just how huge it was going to be. Um, and the fact that the fans wanted so badly for her story to be continued, both in the parks, the television show is coming. A lot of that is the doing of the people who loved her and said, we're not ready to release her. We don't want her to go anywhere. We love who she is. And I'm so grateful for them, and so many different age ranges, so many different ethnic backgrounds. I mean, it's an amazing, amazing thing. And I'm truly, truly grateful. And it is so much bigger than me. You know what I mean? Like when I'm gone, that is still going to be here living and giving children and adults at this point love and hope and dreams of their own. And that is a gift to me. So now to be able to have written this book in her journey was just, oh, I've been so excited about it. I've been excited for 3 years. I've been holding this in and writing and creating something for the little people, for the littles, for 3 years. And I think I hope that they love it because I really wrote it with so much love and attention and respect to the character because she's somebody that I created, but also with a message for them so that maybe life can be a little easier for them after reading it. Because it's hard. It's hard growing up. It's hard to be um, a little kid. It's hard to be a teen, a tween. It's hard growing up. And I think that sometimes particularly in the age of social media, we are so busy trying to reach some aesthetic and be some space of perfection that is um, not not attainable. Um, so I wanted to give these kids some fun and an adventure and a release from the perfection that the world pretends to want from them. Because really, that's not what the world wants. The world wants you, and whatever that means. Um, you know, that's what makes you special.
Well, we can't wait to see it. I'm sure it will be quite a hit. So thank you, Anika, so much for sitting down with me, talking Uncle Vanya, and for everyone out there, make sure you stick with us the rest of this season. Thank you, Anika, so much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.